The end of the year gives us a chance to reflect back on some of the stories that we told throughout the VGK's historic trip around the sun. Like life, it starts and ends with family. Mom, Dad, I want to play hockey. Those, or words to the same effect, kick off a family's hockey odyssey. The start of a son or daughter becoming a hockey player, and a parent transforming into a hockey mom or dad. Along the way, there are goals and wins, travel to new places. There are also tough games, time on the bench, expensive equipment, tears, and sore feet. Like any endeavor of value, it isn't easy, but my oh my, is it rewarding. Standing along the glass with the parents of teammates and encouraging one another's children, cheering when their kid scores, getting a pat on the back when your own makes a good play. Early morning hotel lobby coffee on a tournament weekend. A late night glass of wine in a solo cup, going over the day's games and looking at tomorrow's schedule. While the team on the ice forms over the season, so too do friendships in the stands. Our little girl has grown and changed on her hockey journey, from a gangly kid who couldn't skate to a near teen volunteering at night to help newcomers to the sport learn the basics. She's made friends, learned about competition, and how to be a teammate.
Good job, Callie. You're welcome.
She leads the league in being the last one out of the dressing room. She loves being on a team.
You ready? Fire it up, fire it up.
Way to go, way to go.
Parents and kids make mistakes, measuring ice time rather than fun, talking instead of listening. But every team runs its own course, and so does every hockey family. No formula is one size fits all. Watching a child succeed is gratifying, but there's value in failure too. The struggle is part of the journey and the growth. Hockey has brought lessons to our family. There's been planning and budgeting and organizing around the kitchen table. We consoled each other after a playoff loss. We celebrated a first goal together and a tournament win too. My daughter scored a goal on Friday night and I got to see her celebrate, and boy oh boy, it's really fun. Hockey has meant a lot in our house, a career and a way of life. But now we're seeing it through a child's eyes. It's a game again, our kids' game. What could be better? Vegas is a hockey town, but the birthplace of hockey will always be in Canada. Flying into Las Vegas, it's the glittering blue backyard swimming pools which catch the eye. Canada in the winter reveals a similar picture, except it's the white glare of homemade ice rinks winking back at you from seemingly every other house. Hockey has become a global sport, reaching from North America to Asia to Australia. And while it's also flourishing here in Vegas, its roots will always be Canadian. Canada has given the NHL more players than any other country. Gretzky, Lemieux, Orr, Howe, and so many more started on Canada's winter streets and frozen ponds. Meet you at the ODR, say Canadian kids. ODR is short for outdoor rink north of the border. Barn is slang for arena, twig is short for hockey stick, a helmet is a bucket, and an apple is an assist. In Canada, it's a sweater, not a jersey. A dressing room, not a locker room. It's offside, not offsides. Brandon, Saskatoon, Peterborough, and Flin Flon, where the Wheat Kings, Blades, Petes, and Bombers play. Brian, Dwayne, Daryl, Brent, Rich, and Ron. Those would be 6 of Louis and Grace Sutter's sons from Viking, Alberta. They all played in the NHL. Gordie Howe is Mr. Hockey. He's from Floral, Saskatchewan. Glenn Hall is Mr. Goalie. He's from Humboldt, Saskatchewan. In Quebec, the Canadians are religion. The ghost of Howie Morenz haunted the Forum's rafters alongside 24 Stanley Cup banners. The Flower, Guy Lafleur, Rocket Richard, and Le Gros Bill Jean Beliveau, legends both in life and beyond. Billy Masienko scored 3 goals in 21 seconds for the Chicago Blackhawks against the New York Rangers in the winter of 1952. There's a bowling alley and a hockey rink bearing his name in Winnipeg. One of Canada's greatest hockey fans, the late Gord Downie, wrote the song 50 Mission Cap with his tragically hip bandmates about Bill Barilko. It's played in hockey rinks all over the country. Barilko played for LA's Hollywood Wolves and the Toronto Maple Leafs. He died in a plane crash in Northern Ontario. The last goal he ever scored, won the Leafs the Cup.
Won the Leafs the Cup.
Hockey is sewn into Canadian culture. Books like Scott Young's Scrubs on Skates and Ken Dryden's The Game. Tom Cochrane's rock anthem, Big League. Stompin' Tom Connor's The Good Old Hockey Game. Rankin Inlet is a hamlet on the northwestern edge of Hudson Bay. Jordan Tutu left there to become the first Inuit to play in the NHL. Sons and daughters in Canada fall asleep to the words of Rock Carrier's The Hockey Sweater. Hockey isn't just Canada's game. Fans and players in Vegas have just as much a stake in today's game as do those across Canada. But Canada is where this game of ours came from. It's where it was born and raised. And now, hockey is everywhere. Not just in Canada, eh? On the precipice of the 5th playoff run in 6 years, Vegas and the Golden Knights were becoming aware of the challenges that lay ahead. There is a toll to be paid. Pursuing the Stanley Cup puts a physical and emotional beating on players. And for all those surrounding a team, the psychological punishment is just as real. Whether one is on the ice playing or watching as a fan, there will be joy and anguish. You will scream with happiness, and you will be brought to tears. For hockey players and fans, Stanley Cup is the ultimate prize. And the chase for Stanley is once again upon the Vegas Golden Knights and their fans. Stanley Cup playoff hockey is the ultimate sporting gauntlet, a tournament of attrition. 16 wins gives a franchise a moment in history. As the late Fred Shiro once said, win now and we'll walk together forever. In 6 seasons, the Vegas Golden Knights have been to the playoffs 5 times and won 7 playoff rounds. They've been among the last 4 teams standing on 3 occasions. In their first season, they reached the final and came just 3 wins short of becoming hockey immortals. Already, the Golden Knights have created forever memories in Vegas. Year 1 saw this expansion team of misfits sweep LA in the first round, proving a record-breaking regular season was no fluke. The Sharks fell next, and then the VGK stepped upon the Western Conference final stage for the very first time. A passionate Winnipeg Jets crowd crashed down on the Golden Knights in Game 1 and carried the home side to a win. But a defiant Jonathan Marchessault predicted his team would win the next game. They did, and then the next one, and then the next one. On Winnipeg ice, Vegas received its first trophy in franchise history.
The Vegas Golden Knights,
The Clarence S. Campbell Bowl.
are headed to the Stanley Cup Final.
History had been written, and one chapter remained. The Washington Capitals, however, were on a journey of their own. The Caps made history in Vegas, winning in 5 games and celebrating their first Stanley Cup. The moments have continued to tumble our way ever since. A major penalty miscue and an unforgettable loss in Game 7 to the Sharks in Year 2. A hot run in Year 3's playoffs with series wins over the Blackhawks and Canucks before a Round 3 loss to the Stars in a COVID bubble. There were more pandemic playoffs in Year 4 before restricted crowds. A Round 1 slugfest versus the Wild punctuated with a Game 7 Vegas victory. 2 quick losses to the Avalanche opening Round 2. But then, 4 straight wins, including a Game 5 double OT silencer in Denver from the stick of Captain Mark Stone. Injuries and Canadiens goalie Carey Price stopped Vegas in round 3, just short of reaching another Cup final. The loss turned out to be a preview of sorts, as injuries would derail the next season and leave Vegas on the outside of the playoffs looking in. Bruce Cassidy arrived in town, and top seed in the West followed. The Golden Knights are back in the mix. Old foe Winnipeg is in town, and round 1 is upon us. For this Golden Knights team, the opportunity is again before them to have their names and that of their city and team engraved on the Stanley Cup, forever marked as champions. The chase to 16 begins. After defeating Winnipeg and Edmonton, Vegas was set to battle Dallas for a chance to advance to the Stanley Cup. It's not very often someone will introduce themselves as a Clarence S. Campbell Bowl champion. Same goes for the Prince of Wales trophy. There's a reason some players won't even touch this silverware after winning a conference championship. Everyone wants a cup. Thing is, you have to win one of these to get to the Stanley Cup. For the Vegas Golden Knights and Dallas Stars, the Campbell Bowl is now in their sights. Over in the East, the Wales Trophy is on the line between the Florida Panthers and Carolina Hurricanes. In Vegas, skating among the Final 4 teams in the NHL has become a spring rite of passage. This might be rare air, but it isn't foreign for the Golden Knights. In 6 years of existence, they've been this far 4 times. Vegas has now won more playoff games and rounds than any team but the Tampa Bay Lightning since they joined the world's greatest hockey league. Getting to the Stanley Cup final in year 1 was romantic. What's happened since has been remarkable. The team of misfits came 3 wins shy of the ultimate prize 5 short seasons ago. And while some moved on, misfit DNA is still a big part of what goes on in Vegas. The last round series clinching win over the Edmonton Oilers, every goal scorer was a misfit. 1 for Smith, 1 for Carlson, and 3 for Marchessault. They are this team's history, still its heart, and still pumping. Vegas is no longer a curiosity or just a place for the unwanted. Pulling on a Golden Knights jersey has become a coveted opportunity. The choice of the NHL's elite, like Stone, Pietrangelo, and Eichel. Why? Well, as Alec Martinez says about blocking shots, it's what you have to do to win, and I want to win. The Golden Knights aren't in the hockey business. They're in the winning business. And now they've earned another chance to play for a championship. Stanley isn't in reach just yet, but like we said, you can't get there without getting here first. A 6-game series win over the Stars was a huge accomplishment, but ultimately, the entry ticket was to the big dance. They are no longer misfits to the rest of the NHL. Now, they're a skating, scoring, checking, winning machine. A franchise with few peers, driven by ownership and management, bent on achieving immortal glory. George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon haven't stopped, haven't rested. They've planned and scouted and traded. Getting better has always been their journey. Being the best, their destination. To have the names of their city and team engraved on the trophy of all trophies, the Stanley Cup. And for the second time in 6 short years, here we are again. The last time the Golden Knights saw the Stanley Cup was being paraded around their home building by the visiting Washington Capitals. It was a failure, but one which sent this organization down a path to return to this place. Only they'd arrive better and stronger than before. The 2017-18 season was a misfit miracle, a moment in time which, despite ending in defeat, will forever bring smiles and joy to Golden Knights fans. No one wants to erase the memory of year 1. They want to complete it with ultimate hockey victory with a Stanley Cup. But make no mistake, while outsiders now see these players in this team and this hockey town in a different light, here in Vegas, we still revel in that misfit mystique. Carlson, Marchessault, Smith, Theodore, McNabb, and Carrier. Misfits all, misfits forever. The band is a little different now. Bruce Cassidy behind the bench. Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, Alex Pietrangelo, all in VGK jerseys. Chandler Stevenson has developed into an all-star. Nick Hague and Zach Whitecloud are no longer kids, but men with playoff runs on their resumes. This team expects to win, and it does. There's been heartache and disappointment over the past seasons. At times it's been one step up and two steps back. But this season has been a shining example of togetherness and determination. The team moved forward and improved over the regular season, peaking as the playoffs dawned. Winnipeg's Jets have been grounded. Edmonton's Oilers run dry. And the Stars were blown out to darken the Dallas sky. One foe remains, the Florida Panthers, Eastern Conference champions. They beat the Bruins, Leafs, and Hurricanes. A serious hockey team, to be sure. Vegas is striving for Bill Foley's prophecy to be fulfilled. He said Cup in 6. He's 4 wins away from being right. The morning after the Stanley Cup had ended, a feeling of accomplishment united the community. The man looked up at us and laughed. We did it. It was early the morning after. Hours earlier, Vegas won the Stanley Cup. You'll remember that night forever. We all will. The party was moving from one place to another when a security guard chuckled and uttered those words. We did it. What this man said and who he is tells the story of the Vegas Golden Knights. He wasn't in a jersey, he wasn't in a suit. He doesn't even work for the Golden Knights. But he felt part of it, as he should. He was bang on in his choice of words. Not they did it, we did it.
We did it! We did it!
The players were handed the Stanley Cup. That's right. They earned it and they won it. They're the central figures in this act. But they didn't do it alone. It doesn't work that way. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a city to raise a cup.
Not only is Vegas a hockey town, it's a championship town.
Owners have to supply resources. Managers have to find players. Coaches coach, players play. Fans cheer, and boy do our fans cheer. Broadcasters talk, ticket sellers sell, everyone plays a role. Before the Golden Knights came to Vegas, Major League Sports looked down on this city. If you were a Vegas kid growing up and looking for a team to cheer for, you had to look out of town and pick a team which played in a different city. Vegas fans were misfits too. And now, just like the Golden Knights, the people of Las Vegas are champions.
A devotion to destiny. Misfits to champions. The Vegas Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup in 2023.
The man was right. We did it. We all did it. Although the Golden Knights are champions, the beginning of the next season brought a whole new challenge for the VGK. They are champions today, but they were misfits first. Can they be both at once? For the Golden Knights and their fans, this season is all about defending the Stanley Cup. To make that happen, these seemingly opposing dispositions must find a way to coexist. Revel in the swagger of being a champ, but underneath it all, remain true to misfit DNA.
Make them doubt themselves right off the bat here.
Complacency is the enemy. It can't be allowed to take root in the Golden Knights dressing room or in Las Vegas. The players must remain hungry, the fans too. There's no room for inflated egos and a sense of fulfillment in the pursuit of a follow-up title. The emptiness that first put VGK hands on the cup must be tapped into again. This is no time to feel satisfied. Reclamation and redemption is the way in Vegas. Undrafted Jonathan Marchessault made his way to the NHL. Not belonging drove him and made him a player no one could ignore. Today, he has a Stanley Cup ring and a Conn Smythe trophy. Jack Eichel had the C stripped from his jersey in Buffalo and required groundbreaking surgery to get back on his path to glory. Now he's a champ. Boston fired Bruce Cassidy. Mark Stone had 2 back surgeries. Chandler Stevenson joined the Golden Knights in exchange for a late-round pick. 2 teams gave up on Brett Howden. William Karlsson, Shea Theodore, Braden McNabb, William Carrier, and Marchessault all exposed in the expansion draft.
Oh, what a feeling.
And the fans of the Golden Knights? They were forever told they weren't good enough for Major League sport. This team has been humbled. It made them burn hotter than others, made them closer in their dressing room, fused them to the community in Las Vegas. Lifting the cup took the whole city, and it was glorious. Lots has changed. The players in the city are champions. But to repeat, some things must stay the same. Want to do it again, Vegas? Get hungry. Be misfits once again. Even though the letters on the jerseys have changed, one thing remains constant. The Golden Knights' bond inside the locker room continues to be fortress-like. It's the most treasured letter in all of sports, the captain's C in hockey. Other sports have captains and leaders, but in hockey, the captain is distinguished. Wear the C or the alternates A, and every fan of your team knows it. From Mike to the NHL, a signal to all when the coach announces a player as captain. There's nothing like coming to the rink to find a letter has been sewn onto your jersey. A true badge of honor that your teammates and coaches have recognized you as a leader. Mark Messier's glare and guarantee, John Beliveau's class, Bobby Clark's competitive streak and lopsided grin, George Armstrong's quiet but firm leadership, Steve Yzerman restoring Red Wings glory, Zdeno Chara's towering presence, Jonathan Toews morphing into Captain Sirius and delivering 3 cups to Chicago, Mario Lemieux lifting up a franchise on and off the ice, Sid the Kid following in his footsteps, Wayne Gretzky turning Edmonton into the city of champions while rewriting the record book, Phil Esposito captaining Canada with hockey's most impassioned speech.
We did it because we love our country, and not for any other reason, no other reason.
In hockey, leadership is worn with pride for all to see. Mention a captain, and the C on the jersey comes to mind. Theirs is the right to be first to hoist the Stanley Cup. Mark Stone's hat-trick in a deciding Game 5 win over Florida made the Vegas captain a leader for the ages. Game after game, he leads with his play and his emotion. Not one for big speeches, Stone lets his stick and his expressions of joy do the talking. William Karlsson and Jack Eichel joined the Golden Knights leadership group this season as alternates along with Alex Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo captained the St. Louis Blues to his Stanley Cup before arriving in Nevada. He's an alpha male who plays in all situations. Fierce and skilled, he's one of the best at his position and a player bent on winning. Karlsson is tireless in his pursuit of a complete game. He can check, he can score. In all 3 zones, few are as effective as Wild Bill. Jack Eichel is a superstar with elite offensive skills who also shows a grinder's will to keep the puck out of his own net. It's been said about the Golden Knights that every player in the room has leadership qualities. Every player is a captain in his own right. Where leadership is concerned, the cup runneth over in Vegas. The Golden Knights have inspired so many in Vegas. For one player, the reach goes far beyond this city. The truest inspiration comes from authenticity, genuine and original character. Meet Zach Whitecloud, realest of the real. Once a college free agent who asked a broadcaster for pen and paper so he could retain his observations during his first day in the NHL. Now, a Stanley Cup champion, but he's the same person. A 27-year-old who looks inward and outward, not just so he can be the best version of himself, but so his community can also be lifted up. White Cloud comes from just outside Brandon, Manitoba, and the First Nations son calls Sioux Valley Dakota Reservation his own. It's where he took the Stanley Cup this past summer. He grew up idolizing hockey players, and he knows young people in Las Vegas and those within his culture are looking up to him now. "I'm no one special, I'm just a hockey player," says White Cloud when discussing the platform playing in the NHL provides. "It's a gift, not a responsibility. It's something you're able to do, not something you have to do." The players love him. He hits, blocks shots, and embodies the "do what it takes to win" mantra. There's no better teammate. Zach's family built him an outdoor rink to skate on as a kid. He dragged his teammates to the local 7-Eleven on weekends after games. He even took the Stanley Cup with those same buddies to that same Sev this summer. This season, on the night of his birthday, he opened a bag of his favorite all-dressed potato chips and walked up and down the aisle of the airplane, sharing with everyone. During the Stanley Cup parade, he learned a VGK staffer hadn't had a chance to lift the cup yet. White Cloud made it happen right there on Las Vegas Boulevard. His smile just as big as that of the beaming employee. In Zach's world, everyone matters. Like we said, the realest of the real, both inspired and an inspiration. As 2023 comes to a close, we look back to our first inspiration, family. Behind every NHL player stands a family. Moms and dads and siblings. The player provides talent and desire. Family brings sacrifice, love, and commitment. Someone has to tie up the skates, drive to the rink, buy the gear, provide encouragement, and dry the tears. Mark Stone may have lifted the Stanley Cup, but without his parents, Rob and Jackie, he never reaches that moment. Parents are the wellspring behind every NHL player. For Jack Eichel, the extended family of the Vegas Golden Knights is what made winning the Stanley Cup his favorite time in hockey. Coming out after the games and having so much family from so many of the guys waiting for us was the best. It was like we were little kids again, playing in a tournament, except this was for the Stanley Cup. It made us one big family. I loved it, says Jack. Last week, the Golden Knights were once again joined by their dads for the team's 5th Father's Trip. The Tads are fun, lots of fun, and their laughs are contagious. The buses, planes, rinks, and hotel lobbies were raucous in St. Louis and Dallas, full of mirth, teasing, and chuckling. Bob Eichel is an older and more Boston version of his son Jack. Ben Hutton lights up every time his dad Jim shuffles into the room. The Cotters, 2 Pauls, and inseparable. Joe Pietrangelo still might have better hair than Alex. It's at least a draw. The Waz, Nick and Nick, tall and stoic. Misfits William Karlsson and Jonathan Marchessault branched out. William brought his father-in-law Scott Ferguson, and Jonathan, his brother-in-law, Nick Laguerre. The Howdens, Sheldon and Brett, everyone's favorite teammates. Kim McNabb, Andre Carrier, and Cam Theodore have been on every VGK dad's trip. Dmitry Barbashev came all the way from Moscow. From Western Canada, trekked Tim Whitecloud, Chad Korzak, Kent Pahal, and Mark Thompson. Bob Haig and Kurt Stevenson are roadie roommates and late-night ringleaders. 5 dads tours in 7 seasons, and a sparkling record of 9-0-1 with the Pops in the barn. The kids love playing in front of their dads. Michael and Paul Amadio walked to the plane prior to the first leg of the journey, wondering how far they'd get. Father and son discussed whether about to arrive baby girl Scotty could delay her birth for the week they'd be away. She couldn't. Michael was summoned home and was back in Vegas with his wife Bronwyn in time to see their daughter enter this world. Someday they'll have a father's trip of their own, Scotty the player and Michael the dad. And it'll be a trip of a lifetime. Just ask the VGK dads and their sons.